What's going on, my Sixer fanatics? You're tuning in to your 76ers daily podcast for your daily 76er information. And if you don't know, let me inform you that Daryl Morey has been cooking up this offseason. Last season, if you haven't heard the rumors, that Tyrese Maxey went right at Joel Embiid saying that he's not accountable, he's not dependable, and he's not a good example of a leader. Well, Daryl Morey heard that argument. Daryl Morey heard those rumors, and Daryl Morey took action to change not only the culture of this team, but change the interior of this locker room. How hardworking is this 76er team? Ladies and gentlemen, arguably, this is the hardest working 76er team in the history of the franchise. Now, this is a very historic franchise with some all-time greats that put on that 76er Philadelphia jersey. Dr. J, Julius Erving, Mo Cheeks, Charles Barkley, Dikembe Mutombo, Allen Iverson, Andre Iguodala. Listen, this team and this franchise has not fallen short of star potential and star caliber players. But as a roster as a whole, as an entire collection of 15 players, this is the hardest working Philadelphia 76er team in the history of the franchise. You got to look back to their championship year in 2001. Allen Iverson, the greatest player on that team and the MVP, the focal point of the offense, wasn't too keen on practice. Now, regardless of the story, we all know he had more going on throughout his life, throughout his day, a homie passing, a friend leaving him. He still wasn't the most keen to practicing, and he still was very prone to partying. That is not what we have on this Philadelphia 76ers team. This team also had stars like James Harden, a guy who's very prone to a successful season, but also very prone to partying. This may be the hardest working Sixer team in history because of the construction of the roster. You have Tyrese Maxey, who's the franchise, the focal point, and the leader of this team. He is a gym rat. He's a gym juggernaut. He's doing 3-a-day, 4-a-day, 5-a-day workouts just to get better and prepare for next season. You got young guys like Jared McCain, who even though he's recovering and rehabbing, if you follow Jared McCain on YouTube, Instagram, social media, it's yoga, it's Pilates, it's dribble work, it's shooting drills. He's staying with Rico Hines. If you know VJ Edgecombe, he has made his entire identity on how hard he works and how hard he plays. If you know Paul George, regardless of how you feel about Pandemic P, Podcast P, or just Paul George in the Philadelphia 76er uniform, he got as good as he is today because he stayed in the gym, because he put the extra work in and continued to put the extra time in. And then you have the former MVP Joel Embiid, who picked up basketball at the age of 17. You don't get as good, as great, as fast as Joel Embiid did if you're not glued to the gym trying to make sure those buckets go in. Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and Jared McCain. Those 5 players are not only the focal points of this franchise, the cornerstones of this team, but probably the most impactful players. And their presence, their hard work, their determination will rub off on their teammates, making this not only one of the hardest working 76ers teams in the history of the franchise, but potentially one of the best. Because if you have guys dedicated to improving, dedicated to the cause, obviously the team's going to be better than it was last season, which is exactly what Daryl Morey's hoping. Hoping that a new identity, a new culture, and a new face of the franchise will be moving from Joel to Tyrese, who's disciplined, who's diligent, who's on time and ready to work. That may bode better for your franchise as you're trying to grow to build a winning team and not just buy a winning team. Speaking of buying, which former Sixer could be joining this team with that open roster spot? If you know Daryl Morey, and I think the way Nick Nurse has been, they don't necessarily love giving young guys the opportunity. They think rookies don't necessarily produce their rookie season. They don't think sophomores necessarily have a huge impact their sophomore season unless they're an extraordinary player. So which former Sixer will this team be looking for? Obviously, they want someone they're comfortable with, someone they've had success with, and someone who is extremely helpful playing with Joel or playing with Tyrese or maybe even comfortable playing with Paul George. I think the perfect piece right now is the DeAnthony Melton. DeAnthony Melton was one of the best shooting guards next to Tyrese Maxey. Obviously, he had his troubles finishing at the rim at time, very below finishing at the rim rate, I think like somewhere around 50% just on layups and fast breaks. But outside of that, DeAnthony Melton was an above 40% three-point shooter, was a doggone near close and above 80% free throw shooter, was a consummate defender, was a good and decent floor spacer, and just overall a good teammate, one of Tyrese's best friends, and also a gym rat, a hard worker, and someone who doesn't have a lot of free agent interest for himself right now, coming off of an injury, sitting out a season, and maybe necessarily not reaching the ceiling that we all expected that he could amount to. But DeAnthony Melton would be the perfect former Sixer to rejoin this team based off the culture and identity they're trying to build. Again, he's Tyrese Maxey's best friend, and based off Tyrese Maxey's recommendations, that's all you need to find your way on this Sixer team. It happened for Trenton Watford. It's going on for VJ Edgecombe, and hopefully Quentin Grimes decides to sign. He's also a former teammate of Tyrese Maxey. And rumor is Tyrese loves Joel. They cannot trade Joel without Tyrese Maxey giving the go-ahead, giving the green light. So with this being Tyrese Maxey's team, a reunion with DeAnthony Melton would make a lot of sense and also cover up some of those defensive holes guys like Jared McCain may have, guys like Kyle Lowry definitely have, guys like Aaron Gordon definitely have. You may not need another shooting guard on this team, but you also and always could use another defender because defense wins games, defense wins championships, and they're going to need a lot of great defense if they plan on winning 42 games. The question that's been going on all over social media, will this 76ers team win 42 games or not? You're going to hit the over? Are they going to smack the under? And I think it all depends. Clearly, all depends on the health of this Philadelphia 76ers team. Ignorance is bliss, but I have a very hard time believing that Jared McCain, that Joel Embiid, that Paul George, that VJ Edgecombe, that Daryl Morey, that Nick Nurse, the entire 76ers franchise and organization outside of Tyrese Maxey has explicitly come out and said, this team can win a championship if they're healthy. We believe this team is championship caliber if they're healthy. And with the Eastern Conference, the Eastern Conference, the weaker conference being wide open right now, it's hard not to believe that this Philadelphia 76ers team has a chance to do the dance in the big games in the NBA Finals. I'm just saying, guys. Could they win 42 games, though? It all depends on health. It all depends on Joel Embiid. Because without Joel Embiid, or without another signing of a center, without another signing of a power forward, this team does not have a lot of center depth. Andre Drummond is just as old or older and just as healthy, if not, less healthy than a Joel Embiid. So you have two centers who necessarily aren't above the rim lob threats, who necessarily aren't the best rim protectors, and Andre Drummond's a great rebounder, but he's not a great perimeter defender. He's not a great pick and roll defender. He's not great taking them out in space. It really depends what this team can do and decide to do at the center position. If Joel Embiid is healthy, 42 games is the minimum. If Joel Embiid is able to play 60 games this season, 42 games is the minimum. If Joel Embiid is not healthy, if Joel Embiid is only playing half this season, if the center depth and the power forward position from the Sixer team defensively is lacking and offensively isn't smacking and packing that impact that it's had for the past seasons, there's going to be obvious reasons why the Sixer team falls under 42 games this season. It really does fall in the hands and sadly the legs of the greatest player of all time, Joel Embiid. Paul George said this team wants to play faster, and maybe, without Joel Embiid starting the season, maybe not prepared for training camp, maybe not ready for the start of the season, this team finds a very fast-paced identity, which would suit the Tyrese Maxeys, the Jared McCains, the VJ Edgecombe's, the Kelly Oubre's. If this team's able to play faster, get more shots up, get more fast break attempts, they're able to be more dangerous and more effective on the offensive and the defensive end. Unfortunately, that's just not Joel Embiid's play style. He's not a fast-paced player. He's a possession-for-possession getter. He's a bucket-for-bucket getter. He's not a guy who wants to go up and down the court and try to put up 140 a game. He's a guy who wants to beat you and dominate you at the free throw line, in the interior, get you in foul trouble, and mentally frustrate you. Joel Embiid's game's different than what seems to be being built for this team and for this franchise. So the question is this the last season for the Big Three? I mean, you got to think about it. The identity of this team, there's two different ones. There's the Tyrese Maxey team, and then there's the Joel Embiid team. Both of these guys have a great claim to being the focal point and the face of the franchise. Both of these guys have a great claim and a great reason to be the leader of this team. One, a former MVP, one of the greatest centers of all time, a top 3, top 5 center of all time, not even debatably. And then you have Tyrese Maxey, the hardest worker, the young guy, and also a 25-point per game player. If you give Tyrese Maxey the keys, he was averaging 25 points per game last season on what everyone saw as a down year. Imagine if Tyrese Maxey is as successful as we expect him to be, as we're hoping him to be. Guys, you have a 30-point per game player, maybe a scoring title champion, maybe a double-double machine, a 25-10 guy. I mean, Tyrese Maxey had a down year playmaking and up year scoring. If he just combines the two guys, Tyrese Maxey is a top 3 point guard in this league right now. With that being said, could this be the last season for this team? Obviously. Their identities just don't align, and I'm not sure if they have time to figure it out. The clock is ticking. Joel Embiid's health is only deteriorating. He's only getting older. But don't forget of how great he is, how great he was, and how great he can be if he's playing at even half his pace, a quarter of his pace. He is the only player in NBA history to average more points than minutes. Again, only player in NBA history to average more points than minutes. If he's able to be a fraction of that guy, a fraction of the MVP, my guy Joel, our guy Tyrese Maxey, they will figure it out just like they should be. But Paul George, where does Paul George fit into this equation? Paul George is dying and has been desperate to play a faster pace, a faster brand of basketball. That does not align with the Joel Embiid basketball. Paul George has also been looking for more shots, more on-ball play, more plays drawn for him. Unfortunately, when you have Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, there's not too much usage, not too much on-ball opportunity for a 35, 36-year-old Paul George. So could this be the last season of the Big Three? If they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals, one of those 3 players has got to go. I think Tyrese Maxey is good to stay and locked in for a long time with his team. But Paul George and Joel Embiid, it's probably one of their last seasons with this team if an Eastern Conference Finals appearance isn't achieved, guys. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be extremely interesting to see. You got a great team in the way it's constructed so far. A lot of young shooters, a lot of young spacing. Jared McCain, VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese, and maybe Quentin Grimes. That's 4 young guards. It's the front court depth. It's the front court depth that not only has the front office concerned, but the fans concerned. They're not too young in the front court, especially after releasing Ricky Council. You got a 7-year veteran in Kelly Oubre, Andre Drummond. I mean, Trenton Wofford is young. Trenton Wofford has young legs and a lot of energy to play the defensive side of the ball. But how much skill, how much potential, what is his ceiling really? Still a lot to be determined when you haven't played winning basketball. Guys, this is your Sixer Daily podcast for all of your Sixer Daily information. And we'll be back tomorrow. So like and subscribe for more Daily Sixer content. We'll be back.